folks, it's Amy from Colorado Mountain Living. I'm taking a seat in the hammock here just before I get started finishing up the woodwork that I have left to do today. I've got the second coat of polyurethane to put on the beams. So we are so close to being done with our timbers. They're almost ready to be put together. Bryan's got a handful left that he needs to put some mortise and tenon work on, and then I'll finish up by staining and polyurethaning those up. And then the last two steps are to be drilling the holes for the pegs, and that's going to be the assembly part. There's the drilling of the holes, and then there's the steel bracing. So at the end of this video, I kind of get to work on cutting the 45s on the steel bracing, and so it's like we're right there. So it's just definitely, it's like a light at the end of the tunnel. We can feel like we're making some progress, even though we haven't done any other progress framing up the house or anything like that. But there is good news on the horizon. It's been confirmed that my dad is coming out to visit next week. I'll be picking him up at the airport, and he'll be with us for a week to help frame up the house and raise the roof, hopefully. That's the goal, is to get the walls up and a roof on. Not necessarily all the siding and the roofing material, but at least get the structure part built. Bryan's rented a lift, so a lot of work's gonna happen next week, and I hope to do some live video of that. I do have to work over the weekend, so I'm not gonna be around for all of it, unfortunately, but hopefully I'll be able to share with you some of the exciting parts and do some live filming.
I'm still working on the mortises. Check it out. Got the next two here. I got 6 there, and then those 2 over there. Get 2 on each. They get 1 on each side, so I've got 12 over there. That's the most important thing down there. That was my birthday present, sun shower. So that's my my treat after my work day. A nice shower in the woods. You guys like my little jig? That was the biggest dovetail bit I could find. Look at that sucker. I think it's a 14-degree angle and a 1-inch cut. So after I'm done with the tenons, then I'll start on the mortises. And I got another jig for that. So it is a pretty tight fit in those little guide rails that I have. And the reason for that is just so it keeps it up against the wood. So I also put a lot of forward pressure on it, trying to hold it there as well. As you can see, this is adjustable, so I can move this back piece up, and I can make a longer dovetail with it. So I do about 2 inches up for the bigger ones, because they're on a 9 1/8 by 7 1/16 beam. So, and anyway, so right now I'm going to put some chamfers on this side, make it a little more decorative. Amy's already stained some that I did earlier, so check that out. Nice and close. Looks good. And check this out. Made one of my dovetail mortises. And look how super crisp and clean that is. Amy's been knocking out the staining and the urethane. That probably helps me make it so nice and crisp. Got the next one all set up here. So check it out. Alright, there you go. It's that easy. There's another. Take a look. Look how super nice that looks. There's Amy rocking out the staining. Say hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Alright. See you next time.
Very busy day. Wood as far as the eye can see. Everywhere. Timbers.
I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm looking at here. Sanding the wood, I'm not trying to get it baby butt smooth, but I'm taking off the little bits of pine sap that have come up, discoloration marks, pencil marks, any really rough edges, kind of the really sharp edges here on the chamfer. I'm sanding those down. So I'm getting those sharp edges off, like the discoloration, some rough stuff around some of the knots. Down here there's some discoloration and I'm going to try to get that out. Get the rough spot gone. Just smooth everything out. Get the pencil marks off. There's just a few on this log, but they're really getting the sharp edges down up here and just smoothing out the whole tone. This has a lot of, looks like mildew speckles, so I'm going to try to get that. But you can see here there's just a lot of roughness on the edge. Some of it's sawdust, but just trying to even all of this out. So that's the goal of the sanding, to smooth everything out before I go over with the stain. There's definitely a lot of sawdust on this board. So okay, here's the same beam, all sanded up. So you can see a lot of the roughness has been smoothed out, and a lot of the discoloration gone away. Obviously not completely super smooth like building blocks or anything like that, but good enough to take away a lot of the rough edge. You know, there's still, you know, it's gonna have some rough spots, but along the edges, the corners, and all that black discoloration that was along the edge of the beam in the middle is gone. So looking like a nice piece of wood. And I would have loved to got more of these little black specks off, but they're gonna get blended in with the stain and it'll just add to the character of the wood. That's sort of my philosophy with all of this, is that a lot of the little imperfections and impurities and things that aren't perfect add to the character of the wood and will add to the character of the house. I got one more side to do on this one, and then those two, and I'll be done for today. For sanding at least. Then I got to stain them. I'll show you how the stain's been coming out. It's really pretty. Oh, let me show you one more thing. I've been using this palm sander. It's 120 grit pads, and they definitely get pretty chewed up after a couple of beams. I can probably do one more. Depending on how much sap is in the wood, sometimes they get really sticky looking and they don't really sand well. So right now these aren't too sappy, so it's working out pretty good. I can probably get another beam done before I have to change out pads. But 120 grit to do these has been working out. Wouldn't you know, as soon as I say these beams aren't sappy, I come across a really sappy one. So see if I can get it so you can see these little glistening spots here. You got to sand that off where your staining's going to come out weird. And sometimes it doesn't sand perfectly off, and it kind of creates a little, I don't know, just a little sappy spreading spot on here. So I'm going to go over this with, look what's happening to my sander. All the edges getting all gunked up. So that's worth nothing. It's not going to really sand anything. Maybe an edge in the middle. So I'm going to change this pad out, and so you can see what's happening here. All these white things, that's the sappy spots, and it's gunking up my sanding pad, and it's not going to make this beam sanded really well. The sun's really catching the beads right here and the sap. So this one might take a couple of sanding pads to get this one cleaned up, but got to do it or else the stain's going to come out weird and have little spots all over it. So that's what I got to do. This is how shiny they look after the poly coat. Got a nice shine, nice little bit of a wet look. So the last step for finishing this wood is, after this coat dries, I take some steel wool and lightly sand over it to get off anything like, oh, you know, dried bugs that get stuck to it, or sawdust, or dirt, or any dried drips of polyurethane to even it out. And then a second coat goes on, and then they're finished. And what normally happens in the afternoon is we get a thunderstorm roll through. So everything I was working on, except not these two, those beams over there, I had to cover up because I just barely stained them and they haven't had a chance to dry thoroughly. So I don't want wet marks on them from the rain. It's very lightly sprinkling right now, but at least I got the sides done that I needed to. And on this last beam, I've got to do the bottom side. So after that dries, I'm going to flip it over. Anyway, that's all rolled up for now. You can see wind's blowing through, and, well, I can hear the thunder over there. Just not quite sure how the storm's traveling, if it's going to come over this way or not. But anyway, good time to take a break and time for lunch.
Just keep it on the right side of the line. That's what I do. Right?
Okay.
So it's automatically on the 45. So come look where I got the edge of the thing on this side of the line.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Once you go through,
Uh-huh.
then you take this off
Okay.
and move it up. And then once you go through again, and take this one off. This
Okay.
is clamped. And then cut through again.
Okay.
So you gotta do it 3 times.
Okay. So this was really fun for me to do something I hadn't done before, using a metal chop saw. It was a 14-inch blade, and not really a blade, but more of like a cutting wheel. And the project had to be done in 3 separate cuts because of the size of the piece of steel. And initially, that very first cut was only a couple of inches, but it was really hard to get the wheel to grab the metal because it hadn't really sunk all the way through the plate yet. So just getting that first inch or two was the hardest part, actually, of all the cutting. I later had to transition into full pants, long sleeve shirt, hat, and gloves because of all of the sparks that were being thrown off, eye protection and all of that. It does sting a little bit when you get some metal flecks landing on you. So definitely got the hang of it, and the right, learning the right pressure. I actually had to put a block of wood so I could be a little bit taller over the machine so I could have the leverage to press down without tiring my shoulder out. So that was a fun learning process, and made it through, gosh, I think it was a dozen pieces of steel, cutting 45s. So the next step of this project for the metal bracing is to weld together the cut 45 angle with a regular piece of steel. And so we have to do that before we, cobble together the timbers. So they also have to be drilled with holes for the bolts as well. So anyway, fun project, and it didn't take too long. As soon as I kind of got my rhythm and got the hang of things, it went by really quickly, and it was definitely a fun little project to kind of to wrap up. So that is the progress where we're at right now. We're definitely can sort of taste the finish line. One of the last pieces is waiting for those wooden pegs to arrive and fitting together. The time-consuming part is the fitting together of the wood. So Bryan still's got to spend some time fitting together the parts of the bents and make sure they have a good fit before he drills all the holes for the pegs and things like that. So that is still a time-consuming part. He hopes to have a lot of the fitting done before my dad gets here, but we're very excited to have an experienced home builder come and speed things along for us, maybe show us some shortcuts along the way. But I will definitely be posting some videos live next week and let you guys see all the exciting stuff in action. There's nothing more exciting than seeing the walls go up and the roof go on. So I hope to be around for a lot of it, and we will keep you updated. This is the most exciting part. Even though it seems like the last couple of months we've just been cutting wood, it actually looks really nice, the finished woodwork, and I can just imagine how it's going to look inside the house. So anyway, thanks for staying with us, and give us a thumbs up. We will keep you updated. See you next time.